Okay, we're here with Casey Veinotte. He's going to be our first graduate. He's achieved his 225s, just hanging in there with a literary now. And he's going to be interning and going to work in Massachusetts. So, Casey, it's been great having you. I'm going to hate it when you're leaving. But you will be happy to know we have two guys coming into our new theory class.
Nice.
Yes, named Jacob and Jason, completely
Cool.
unrelated. One is 17 years old and one's
Nice.
37. So we'll see how the 17-year-old does and lives up to
Yeah.
your standard that you've set. Okay, Casey, tell us something about yourself, your family and what you did in high school and stuff and what you like to do for fun. Just personally, let us get to know you a little bit.
In high school, I went to a tech school and I did culinary for 4 years. So it was pretty fun. I learned a lot about cooking and everything, but I also learned I don't like cooking. So so I did not pursue anything in that area. As for my family, my family's awesome. Uh, really supportive of me doing court reporting and everything. Obviously, my mom's a court reporter, so they better be supportive. Um, but yeah, we're also pretty animal friendly. We have a bunch of pets and 4 donkeys now. So,
Four
so that's
now. Oh my
yep,
gosh.
yep,
And your sister's active as a horsewoman, or right?
yep, yep. She rides horses and helps out at a barn that she goes to.
Oh, that's great. And you live kind of in the country as far as Massachusetts goes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How long does it take you, say, to get to, what are you closest to, Springfield or Boston or Worcester?
Well, definitely Worcester.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, Worcester's good.
I'm only like 45 minutes away or something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about your work later. So what do you do for fun?
Um, well, since I'm still at the age where like all my friends are in college, when they're home, I usually hang out with them because I don't see them that often. I'm not
Yeah.
really like a party goer, so I
Yeah.
don't go up to their colleges and stuff.
Right.
Um, I still have friends that don't go to college, so I hang out with them too. But then I like working out and I don't know, I guess playing video games too.
Yeah, you're a master of video games. In fact, weren't you going to be a professional gamer at one point?
Yeah, I was attempting to back when I was in school when I didn't have like too many things I had to do on the side.
Yeah, yeah. And weren't you the quarterback, high school football quarterback?
No, I wasn't the quarterback. I was defensive end.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, cool. All right. So, what got you interested in this steno thing?
Um, well, my mom's a court reporter, and so I just came home from school one day, and she was talking about how she had to go. It was something like Colorado or something, and so she was getting ready, and she had her machine out, and I saw it, and I just kind of started messing around on it,
Yeah.
um, just joking with her and stuff, and asking her how do I write how do I write so and so word, and so when she left, right before she left, she taught me how to do the alphabet.
Uh-huh.
And when I came back, um, I was pretty much doing the alphabet faster than her. So uh, she kind
Wow.
of I didn't really think much of it, but she kind of like wanted me to go into court reporting, at least like try it after she saw me writing and everything.
Uh-huh.
And so there was like a free A to Z class, and
Uh-huh.
I went to that, and I ended up liking it. I didn't really know how far I was going to go with it, but
Mm-hmm.
I did like it. And then I was told about your college, and at the time I didn't graduate yet, and
Uh-huh.
you had to be a graduate of high school, and but you let me in,
Yeah, oh yeah.
luckily. And so now here I am.
Oh,
I'm in
awesome.
school now.
Yeah, and now they're looking at starting training in high schools, so it's
Yeah,
a, if we can get more people, hooked in high school, it'd be great. I know Ed took his first deposition the Monday after he graduated from high school. So
yeah.
that's really cool. All right, so what was the easiest thing about learning steno theory? And what was the hardest thing?
Um, let's see. The easiest thing was honestly just attending the class.
Yeah. You can show
um,
up, right? Show up.
yeah, yeah. The hardest part was, it wasn't really like a specific hard part. It's probably different for everyone, but there's certain types of like fingerings that you can't really get across, or like it doesn't really make sense in your head yet.
Hmm.
Um, for me, it was probably the like unch, like bunch and
Oh,
lunch and stuff like that. I think I actually skipped that class that time. Well, not
yeah.
skip, but I wasn't there. And
Uh-huh.
not being in theory is probably the worst time to not go to school.
Yeah. I remember that I missed that section too when I was getting
Hmm.
tutored, and the unch, and I thought it just doesn't even make sense. But later on,
Yeah,
it does. So
yeah, yeah. Now I'm fine with it.
yeah, I just come to terms with it. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. So, what about speed building? When you got to speed building, what was easy or less hard, and what was hard?
Um, I think the easiest part was probably starting speed building and having like once you get out of theory, I was pretty not confident, but I knew at that point, like I didn't go to college, so I better do this. I had a lot of motivation. That's what I was looking for in
Okay,
the beginning.
excellent.
So that made the beginning easy. Uh, and then towards once I started getting around 160-ish, um, my motivation kind of died out just because speed building is kind of monotonous. But you got to do it. So that the motivation was probably the hardest part for me, staying motivated, getting
Hmm.
enough hours.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's hard for everybody, staying
yeah,
motivated, just for me, it was like, dadgummit, I'm going to do this. This is crazy. I just wasn't going to let failure into my lens. That's it. I was
yeah,
just, determined. It's that determination is, you got to have it. You got to be determined. You
yeah,
can't just go, oh, well. It's not an oh, well thing once you're at the 140, 160 thing. That's where the
yeah,
boulder is almost up the hill. Come on, you've been pushing this long, just push it a little farther, and then you've got a career. So
yeah.
it's
And
just
you get to a point where there's no point in stopping.
right.
You've gone so far that once you get to the 140s, 160s, you know you can obviously get there. So just
Absolutely.
push a little bit harder and
Push a little
get to
harder
the
and get there.
225. Yeah.
Exactly. What about that old thing that the teachers tell you? You better go back and read your notes and look at what you've done and analyze what you've done. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is because a lot of times, especially in the beginning, you won't realize, at least I didn't, that I was misstroking a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I felt like I was getting them, but I would notice because at that point I didn't have a dictionary, so most of the stuff wasn't translating. So um, unless you look at your notes, you're not going to realize that you accidentally stacked an extra letter or something like that, an extra key. So it helped me with knowing that I was misstroking stuff, and then once I fixed that, it also helped me with like solidifying everything. It's one thing to like feel out the keys
Mm-hmm.
and write it, like seeing it
Mm-hmm.
eventually, it I don't know why, but it definitely helps.
It does. It's like the visual auditory connection, or like the mind
Yeah,
body. I mean, everything's connected. But especially when you see the strokes and you swear you didn't write that, but you did, and if you do
yeah,
it a million times, like writing the word and wrong, I mean, get it right or change the outline, but try
mhm,
first to get it right. What
yeah,
about briefs? Everybody talks about briefs.
yeah. Um, I had a tough time with briefs. I really like them. I liked them
Mm-hmm.
too much, and so I was around 180. I was kind of the reason I stayed at 180 is because I wasn't practicing enough, but I didn't want to tell myself that. And I was like, well, if I get briefs, I write shorter. I'll just automatically be quicker. So I bought a book, and I was learning briefs from it. I don't know if I won't name the book.
It's okay. Fine.
But I was learning a bunch of briefs from it, but they weren't really briefs. A lot of it was changing theory, essentially. Like I was changing the way I write words that I've been writing for basically 1 year now. And so it slowed me down a lot. And then a big problem with briefs for me is I wanted a brief for as many big words as possible. And that's a problem because you really should only brief frequency.
Right.
You shouldn't brief a word because it's hard. You should brief words that come up a lot
Mm-hmm.
in what you do.
Right.
So like I'd have a brief, like I'd be doing a Q&A and there'd just be some random word that's like 3 or 4 strokes for me. I was struggling to write it because it's at a certain speed that I'm practicing at. And instead of getting the theory like 100% down, I would just make a brief for it. And so I'd forget the brief. And next time I hear the word, I'd have to write it out and it would slow me down because I didn't practice writing it out.
The practice writing it out is important because you can't have a brief for everything and remember all the briefs for all the
Right.
words that can possibly come up, and you don't know what your frequency is going to be once you start working.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
when you decide, oh, I better get a brief for this because it's coming up on
Yeah.
every single thing I'm writing. But in
Yeah.
school, you better just learn to slap it out. Although for the most frequent words of the English language, no matter what, like
Yeah.
transportation or, you shouldn't write transportation. That's
Hmm.
4 strokes. You can certainly brief that. Um,
Yeah.
and that'll come up in no matter what you do. That's a basic word of the English language. So that's really good advice for the students who are coming up, because you're going to be tempted to make sure you're getting the right education, and am I doing this right? And you'll question. And now we have social media, so there's 1,000 trillion different opinions about it, right?
Yeah.
So, what about the academics and the that you've had in the school, um, and the software training? Do you feel prepared to go
Uh,
out?
yeah, I do. Academics wise, like punctuation and grammar and just all that type of stuff.
Yeah, vocabulary, law,
Yeah.
medical.
Yeah. That I feel pretty confident on. For some reason, I don't know when this started, but you don't really do grammar too much in high school anymore, at least in
I
mine.
know.
I kind of stopped in like second grade.
Wow.
Uh, so um,
Hmm.
yeah, so I didn't really do too much punctuation in high school. So when I came in here, uh, people that go to college, a lot of them have to write essays, and they just kind of naturally get good at punctuation because you're just gonna fail if you don't have a good
Right.
essay. So I didn't. I did write essays in high school, but it was high school essays. They're like 5 pages. I didn't really, I didn't really try too hard in high school. Uh, so yeah, punctuation was a problem for me. But you gave me a link to a website,
Uh-huh.
and I just went through it, and it taught me like the actual reasons why you punctuate, not like just giving an example and you put it here. It gave me like the actual rules
Yeah.
uh, to punctuate, and so that helped me out a lot. And then medical it was just good.
Yeah.
I went through it, learned some words,
Yeah.
and I learned how to write them.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a big part too. Prefixes and suffixes.
Yeah.
Those are huge. The more you can get down, the better. But then law, that was good as well. Um,
It's just a whole world we don't know about unless we open that chapter, like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's been interesting that then you have a more informed view of the world, like when things are
right,
happening now in politics and the world, you go,
yeah,
oh, okay, we kind of studied about those amendments, and
yeah,
there was actually law that changed things, and
yeah.
so we do have a working democracy. Um, what about what do you think you need more work in? Do you think it would have been helpful to write essays, or do you think the transcribing that you do is a natural way to learn punctuation in steno school?
I think transcribing is probably better because, at least for me,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of times that there's weird punctuation you have to do in essays
Mm-hmm.
and in transcripts, and they don't really go hand in hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
if like punctuating a essay is just different from punctuating a transcript.
Oh,
Like there's a
gotcha.
lot of there's a lot of dashes that you have to put in when people interrupt and stuff. So I think it's good to know how to punctuate an essay, but I think obviously if you're going into court reporting, doing transcripts is probably better.
Right. And you, uh, how much punctuation do you do as you go along
Like when I'm
when you're
like
actually
at the job or
writing?
something.
Uh-huh.
Um, Depending on the speed,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I've there's a lot of times where like you just know there's a comma, like you can just tell there's a comma there. Um, so I'll just toss it in depending on if I'm behind or not. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Test wise though, I try not to punctuate because it's just an extra stroke.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather get a word than a comma or a period even. Like you can kind of for the most part figure out where the sentence ends and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you got all the words, you usually can
Yeah,
figure it out. That's true.
yeah,
That's true. If you're going to let something go, let a comma go.
yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of commas that I do put in, especially in like jury charge. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll start out with like ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I just know there's a comma
Mm-hmm.
depending on how the sentence goes and stuff. So I definitely do punctuate a decent bit, but I'll probably punctuate more when I actually start working.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anything you can do, it helps. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? When do you think you'll be interning then? When you finish that lit, or do we start interning now? You can start interning now. You got one lit.
um, Probably. I'll probably start really soon, like weeks. I'll probably
Okay.
start. I was holding it off, kind of like a mental thing. I didn't want to. I didn't have my Q&As at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
so I felt like I wasn't gonna be ready.
Mm-hmm.
But then I passed one, and it was still like a mental thing for me. I still didn't feel like I was gonna be ready, even though I passed one. So I know I'm at the speed. And I passed the second one, and I still felt that way. My mom the whole time was like, just go out, like just see what it's like. And I've already been to other jobs, so I don't know what it was. I think it's because I'm so close now that I actually like I expect myself to be at the speed now, and if I drop, it's kind of a bad thing in my head, but it's fine.
Well, they're
Um,
different 225s. And are you going to continue practicing speed till you get your merit?
Yeah, I plan once I start working, I plan on maybe working just once or twice a week and trying to get my merit, and then once I get that, just work.
Yeah, I think having extra speed, even if you get up to 240,
Hmm.
Q&A, it's a real good little comfort zone. But once you're at 225, it's easier to get to 240. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and tell the students who are at 160, 180, how easier it was to get the last bit as compared to the first. I mean, does
Yeah.
speed building get easier?
It definitely does. There's it's kind of like a tipping scale in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the beginning, like I said, you have a lot of motivation, so
Mm-hmm.
you're motivated. That like 80 to 100 is harder.
Mm-hmm.
So the motivation kind of outweighs the difficulty a little bit.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, it's
Good way to
definitely
put it.
harder because when you're at 80 and you listen to like a 225, I remember
Oh.
when I did that, I didn't even
Oh.
think it was possible. I didn't even
Right.
think it was possible to get 225.
Right, exactly. I
um,
know.
but then as you go up, the jump from 140 to 160, that's usually where people kind of get stuck. Once you get past that hump, everything starts getting a lot easier. Like when I passed my 200, probably less than a month, I was confident that I could pass the 225. I hadn't taken a test yet, but I felt like when I would do a practice 225, I would just act like it's a test to see how I would do, and
Mm-hmm.
I could tell that I could probably pass one. So definitely the later jumps are easier in my
Okay,
opinion.
that's really good to hear. Did you use the technique? I know you did earlier, but did you use the technique of just playing the first minute over and over again until you got that right, and then adding the second minute, or is that what you'd
Yeah, that
recommend?
yeah, I think so. I would do like if I was at 140, I would probably play around 150, 160s to to get that speed. And yeah, I would do 1 minute until I would get it pretty perfect. Not 100% perfect, but pretty close to it. Then I would
Mm-hmm.
add in the second. I would either do the second minute on its own or add in the second minute to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then keep going. There's a lot of times though where you'd spend maybe 10 minutes on the first minute and then 45 on the second one. Like there's some times where like there's just that particular minute is really hard either for yourself, like fingering wise, or it's just really hard
Dense.
dictation at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be denser.
So, and that's another like uh confidence thing, I guess. Like it can affect you if you're like stuck on just 1 minute of a dictation for like a half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It can definitely affect you, but you just gotta either push through or just lower the speed for that minute.
All right, excellent, excellent. All right, what are you looking forward to the most about working, getting out in the field and working?
Obviously making some money because I'm
Yeah,
pretty broke right now.
yeah.
But just experiencing the job, because I'm going to do freelance, so I know there's a lot of freedom in that. There's a lot of freedom in general with court reporting. It's a really
Mm-hmm.
great career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but every time I go to like these like conferences and stuff, I'll talk to a bunch of people and they all have different opinions, but all of them are good.
Yeah.
And so
All the opinions are good, you mean?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
They
Mm-hmm.
all have like they all do different things in it. Like some will actually do court and have like a 9 to 5, and some will do freelance and only work 1 day of the week type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they all love the career. So that's one benefit of it. There's so many different avenues you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So if for instance I don't like depositions, I can do cart. I can work towards doing cart or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Or go into the courtroom. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's convention reporting too. That's a whole
Hmm.
different thing. Yeah, parliamentary reporting. One of our first cart writers, she's on the Hill now, Capitol Hill, doing the congressional record every day. So
Uh-huh.
it's just like, wow, she's done
Yeah.
every phase of court reporting, of steno, every
Yeah.
phase.
It's
So
it's really cool.
it is nice. Well, I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to everybody, Casey. And can they write you with questions if they
Yeah, that's
have,
fine.
or motivation, or how did you do so and so? Why don't you give your email address if you don't mind?
Okay, it's C Veinotte VEINOTTE 98 at gmail.com.
Awesome. And thank you very much. And good luck with those literaries.
Thank you.
All right. Practice C-SPANs. That's good too. C-SPAN, not
Okay.
CNN. C-SPAN, where the senators and reps actually stand on the floor and give speeches.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just plain, and it's not hyped like TV. So
All right.
it should be good. All right. Well, thanks, and thanks for joining us, and I'll talk to you later.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.